Hey everybody, my name is Dan and I'm an officer with the Sports Product Development Club. Today I'm going to be walking you guys through a tutorial to make a carabiner in OnShape. So this is going to be a CAD tutorial. So I'm going to share my screen and give you guys a look at what we're going to be working towards today. So we're going to be going step by step through the design process of making a carabiner like this in OnShape. So the first couple things that you'll need for this is you will need an account with OnShape. And as a student at Oregon State, that will be free. And it just is a matter of going through their website, entering in the required information, and setting up an account with them. Once you have set up an account with them, this will be kind of your home screen where you can see all of your different projects you've been working on and create new ones. So what we're going to do to start off is we're going to click Create. We're going to click Document. I'm going to title this SPD Carabiner. So this will take you into this workspace. And I would advise, as we walk through this together, feel free to pause this recording and catch up or rewind and just take it at your own pace. I'm just going to move through this. So this is kind of the starting place. And while this is OnShape, most CAD softwares will start you with a similar view. And you have three main planes: your front plane, your right plane, and your top plane. You have your origin. And then you can start to build the carabiner. And for those of you who are new to CAD, the basic principles of it are that you, more than likely for this, we will be sketching in 2D and then either extruding or cutting with those 2D sketches to form our 3D shapes that we're trying to get. So to start this, I'm going to click the top button over here on this little three-dimensional viewer. That is going to put us normal to the top plane. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to design the outline of the carabiner. So to do that, we're going to need to do a sketch. So I'm going to click on the top plane to select it. And then in the top left-hand corner, I'm going to click Sketch. Now what this does is it creates a sketch and it determines that the plane that the sketch will appear on is the top plane. And if you noticed, all of these controls changed now. These are all commands meant for sketching. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by making the outline of the carabiner. So I'm going to click on the circle tool. And I'm going to put the middle of the circle somewhere on this line. I'm going to click. As you can see, you can drag it out however far you want, but it's still centered where we clicked. And then I'm going to select this point right here. So now we're going to add a second circle to the bottom, again, clicking on this line and then dragging and clicking on the origin. So now we have two circles, and we're going to want to define these circles. And what defining does is it tells OnShape or whatever CAD software you're using exactly what you want the shape to look like. And we've already given it a little information. We've told it that we want the circles to be centered along this vertical line right here. And we've told it that we want the edge of the circle to make contact with the origin. So now we're going to hit this button right here. And this is your dimension tool. And it's really useful for creating values to help describe the sketches to OnShape. So I'm going to click on the circle. You're going to see a little number pop up. So this is going to set the diameter of the circle. And for this circle, I'm going to make it 2.25 inches. For this circle, I'm going to do the same and make it 1.75 inches. I'm now going to select the circle tool again and create circles that are concentric with the circles that we just made. Again, we're going to use the dimension tool. Click on the circle. And for the inside circles, we're going to make them 1.75, and the bottom one, 1.25. Now, we need to connect these circles together to create the shape of the carabiner. So to do this, I'm going to select the line tool. I'm going to click on the perimeter of the outside circle and move my mouse down and click on the perimeter of this circle. Once you click, you'll realize that you kind of have a line dangling on your mouse, and you can get rid of this by pressing Escape on your keyboard. So now, it's important to notice that the circles have lines that are black, while this line is blue. And what that's telling you is these circles are fully defined. I can click on it and try and drag it around, but it's not moving because we've given it all the information for OnShape to know exactly where it is in space. We've given it its diameter. We've told it where we want this middle point relative to the origin. But this line is blue. All we've told OnShape is that we want this line to connect with these circles. But as you can see, you can drag these points all around and really get some crazy geometries happening. So it's really important that as you go through CAD and as you sketch and build up a model, that you're making sure that your sketches are defined. Because while it might not seem like a big problem now, if down the line you change a dimension and different sketches or different lines in that sketch aren't defined, by changing something else in the model, it could have a trickle-down effect and end up moving other parts around. So to define these lines, we're going to not use the dimension tool. We're going to use a different tool, which is we're going to add relations between this line and the lines of the circle. So all of the relations that you have access to are located right up here. And a relation has the same effect as a dimension. You're just giving OnShape information about your sketch. So I'm going to click on this line. I'm going to click on this circle. And I'm going to click the tangent button. And you'll see that it snaps this line tangent with this circle. I'm going to do the same down here. And now this line is black like the circles and fully defined. I'm going to take another line, add it there, go through the same process of making it tangent with circles. Then I'm going to do another line, making a tangent with the inside of the circles. Find a sketch. And what that means is you give it too many relations or too many dimensions, where OnShape knows that some of the information that you've given it can't coexist together. So in this scenario, what I think happened is it accidentally made a parallel relationship that I didn't want. So I'm going to click on that parallel relationship and press delete. Once that's gone, you'll see that it goes back to being fully defined with no errors. Now I'm going to add one more line to the other side. Make sure that it's tangent with the inner circles. And we have our basic outline for the carabiner. So now you're probably thinking that there's a lot of extra lines that don't fit in the perimeter of what we need. So what we can do is select the trim tool and start trimming some of these extraneous lines out of our sketch. I'm actually going to leave these inner lines in here because they're critical to the dimensions and relationships that we have built. So if we were to take them away, like we saw, by trimming them, our sketch would no longer be defined. You can see all the lines turn blue. So I'm going to undo that. And we can just leave these lines in here. It actually won't matter. So now what we need to do is we need to give this sketch depth because it's currently just living on this plane. It's completely two-dimensional. So we're going to do what's called an extrusion. And if you see this button right up here, it says extrude. So we're going to click that. And it already knows that what we want is this area in the sketch, but just to show you guys, we're going to delete this. And you can hover your mouse over different sections. So if for some reason we wanted to just extrude this inside section, we could do that, but we don't. All we want is this outside section. And you can see that by dragging the arrow, you can change the height of the carabiner. But what we're going to want to do is in this place to enter the depth, we're going to make it 0.25 inches. Once you've hit 0.25, we're going to hit the green checkbox, and we will have officially done an extrusion based on the sketch that we made. For the next feature, we're going to be adding some cutouts down at the bottom of the carabiner, which is going to allow the gate to flex inwards and spring back to its closed position. So again, we're going to select the top. And now we're going to need to make a sketch. And there's a couple ways that we can make this sketch. As you can see, we don't have a plane that's sitting on top of the carabiner. We have a plane that's sitting on the bottom of the carabiner. But if we want to put a sketch right up on top of the carabiner, there's a couple different things we can do. The first way I'm going to do it is with a reference plane. And a reference plane, while not crucial to this, is a really good tool that you will learn to use in more complex projects. So what a reference plane does is it creates a plane, and then we're going to select an entity. So in this case, we're going to select this face that we're going to want to sketch on. And now you can see that we have a plane that's parallel to that face, and it's located 1 inch from it. But we want this plane to be sitting right on top of the face. So we're going to move this value to 0 and click OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on plane 1 and again hit sketch. So to add these cutouts in the bottom, let me again show you what they're going to look like. Like I was saying, these cutouts right here allow the material of the carabiner to flex so that this gate can swing inward and then spring back to its closed position. So to start, we're going to take a line tool and draw a line from this point on the circle all the way up to the center point. And one thing you can see right here is that this line is already defined. We haven't given it any dimensions or any relationships, but it's defined because we gave it start and ending points of things that have already been defined. So this extruded piece right here is fully defined. So if we make our line based on features of that fully defined part, then that line will be fully defined as well. So next, we're going to draw a line. We're going to start from this point right here. We're going to drag it out past the carabiner. We're going to take another line, drag it out past. And then we're going to take one more line and connect them together. Now, I want to slowly start defining the parts of the sketch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this line and this line and make them the same length. So I'm going to click on this equal button right here. And then it will show that these two lines are now the same length. The next thing I want to do is define how much space is between these two lines. And to do that, I'm going to do a smart dimension between these two lines. And notice that it's no longer a distance. Now it's an angle because we're looking at the angle between where these two lines intersect that point. And we're going to make this 5 degrees. We're now going to want to let OnShape know the angle between these two lines. So again, I'm going to select one line, select the next line, pull it out. We're going to make that dimension 25 degrees. And you can see that this still isn't fully defined. We can kind of drag this in and out. So it needs to know the length of one of these lines. It knows that they're equal, but it doesn't know how long they are. So we're going to need to do a smart dimension. And we're going to make that 1 inch. We're now going to add one final line on the inside of them. You can put it anywhere. And then to define this line, we're going to select it. We're going to select this line. We're going to make them parallel to each other. And as you can see, we've overdefined the sketch again due to this normal relationship that it automatically inserted when we put the line in. And that's okay. All we have to do is click on the normal relationship and press the delete button on your keyboard. Now the final dimension that we need to give this is the distance from this point to this point. So go ahead and make that 0.75 inches. So now that we've made the sketch for this one cutout, we can go ahead and look at what the cutouts look like on the other fully created part. And you'll notice that there's 3 of them. And one way we could do it is to manually make this shape again 2 more times. Or we could use another one of the built-in tools into OnShape to speed this up for us. So what we're going to do is you're going to click on this button right here on the little drop down, and this is a pattern feature. We're going to click on circular pattern. Once we've clicked on circular pattern, you're going to select all of the entities that you're going to want to pattern. So you're going to select all 4 of the lines that we made, but we're not going to select this line. This line is mainly just for construction. We just want these lines right here. So now if you zoom out, you can see that OnShape has created a pattern of 3 of these revolving around the origin. Now this is great, but we don't want them to revolve around here. We would prefer for them to revolve around there. So what you're going to do is you're just going to click on this point and drag it straight down until it locks on to the center of that circle. Next, you can see that by clicking and dragging this arrow, you can change where the shapes appear. By clicking on the arrow, you can get it to switch directions. So we're going to click on the arrow so that the pattern appears on this side. And you can space it out and define it by using this angle here. So for our purposes, we're going to make this angle 30 degrees. You can click anywhere, and then you can see that this sketch is fully defined. All the lines are black, and we have 3 of these shapes. So the next thing we're going to want to do is cut out the material. So again, we're going to click extrude, but instead of adding material, we're going to remove material. So select remove, and I'm going to delete the selections that it's already made. So now we're going to first want to select the regions that we want to cut with. So if you remember what the carabiner looks like, we're going to want to cut out this section of material, this section of material, and this section of material. You can see that you can also change the depth. And what we're going to want to select is through all. And what this is telling OnShape is we want to extrude these shapes through this solid. We're going to click the check mark. So now you can see we have these cuts in the right place. So now we're going to move on to making the gate. So I'm going to zoom in over here. And what we could do is we could go back and sketch on this plane because, again, we've set this plane up to be right on the surface that we want to sketch on. But I'm going to show you guys another way that you can do it. So if you don't want to make a reference plane, if you're going to be sketching right on a solid that has a planar surface already, what you can do is select a face. So you can see this face is selected, and then you press sketch. And this will create a new sketch on the face of extrude 1. So we're not creating any reference plane geometry. We're just telling OnShape that we want to put our sketch directly onto the face of this solid. So now what we're going to want to do is, I'll show you. This is our finished one. We're going to want to create a little cutout right here so that there's a material gap so that the carabiner can open and close and that material isn't bonded together. And the spacing in here is fairly specific because we're building this to be 3D printed. And to be honest of how we came to the dimensions for this, it was a little bit of trial and error. The nozzle on the 3D printer is 0.4 millimeters. And based on the nozzle diameter and what type of printer you have and what resolution you're printing in, you can either have tighter dimensions or looser dimensions in order to get this gap to exist. What we don't want to happen is for these two pieces to merge together during the print. So we're going to keep that in mind when we're making this feature. So the first thing I'm going to do, now that we have a sketch that is on the face of extrude 1, I'm going to select the line tool. And I'm going to click right where the circle intersects this tangent line. I'm going to go over perpendicularly, click again, start a new line coming down, also perpendicularly, and then over to the other edge. I'm going to do this one more time underneath it. Again, not really worrying about the dimensions, just making sure they're perpendicular to each other. Now we have a rough outline of what we want this to look like. So now we're going to start dimensioning it to fully define it. So I'm going to click the dimension tool. And I'm going to set the dimension between these two lines right here. So I'm going to click the dimension tool, select both of those lines, and tell OnShape that we want the distance between them to be 0.008 inches. I'm now going to come down here and do the same thing. Now I'm going to dimension the length of these lines. We're going to make these lines 0.121. Similarly, we will make this line 0.121 as well. What this does is it pretty much gets us that same 0.008 in the middle, just another way of doing it. And the final thing that we'll have to dimension, so you can see that most of these lines are fully defined, but these lines down here are still blue. We can move it up and down, so OnShape doesn't really know where it wants them, or where we want them. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the dimension tool again. Click on this top line, click on this bottom line, pull it out, and make it 0.25 inches. So now you can see that this entire sketch right here is fully defined. The final thing that we have to do is we have to connect these two lines together, because right now they're not touching each other. As you can see, there's a gap between these 2 points. And if we tried to cut out this material right now, OnShape wouldn't understand, because we don't have a closed shape. We don't have a shape with closed boundaries. We just have these two open lines. So we're going to click on the line tool. And we're going to connect these together with lines here. So you can see they're fully defined already because we're taking them off of things that have already been fully defined. Now we have a closed shape. So what we can do now is, again, click the extrude button, select remove, select through all, and hit the green check mark. And this will remove the material based on our shape, giving the carabiner its gate. So at this point, we have the basics of a carabiner. If we printed this out, it would function properly and give you everything you need. But we're going to go through a few more fun things just to make the carabiner a little bit more fun. We're going to go through adding some text to it. We're going to go through adding some fillets to make some of the edges a little less harsh. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some text to this wall of the carabiner. So on your screen, if you move over to this wall of the carabiner, you can select this face. And again, we're going to create a sketch on this face. So once this face is orange, all you have to do is click Sketch. You can see that it created Sketch 4, and it's located on that face. But we do want to, for ease of sketching, it is really helpful to be normal to where the sketch plane is. So as you can see right now, we're not really normal to it. We're at an angle. So what we can do is right-click on the face and select View Normal To. And what this will do is it will bring us completely normal to this face. So to add text, we're going to click this button right here. And on this plane, I'm going to select the top edge and drag it down to the bottom edge. It will now bring up a text box. And you can feel free to write whatever you want. If you want to put your name on there, whatever, it's up to you, your design. For me, I'm going to put SB, and I think I'm also going to do bold and italics, just for fun. And when I'm satisfied with what I've written, I'm going to click the green check mark. You can see that now this text appears here. And what we've done by dragging it from the top to the bottom is we've created relationships between our text here and the features that are already fully defined on the carabiner. So you'll notice that you can't really drag the text up or down. All you can do is drag it side to side. That's the one dimension that we haven't locked down on this. So to define that, we're going to select this point right here, and we're going to define it with this point right here. So we're going to create a relationship with it, excuse me. So click there. And then we're going to use this button right here, which is coincident. So it will snap those 2 points to the same location. Now you can see that the entire sketch is black, no more blue lines, it's fully defined, and it's ready to be extruded. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hit the extrude button once again. We're going to get it to around what looks right, based on past printing. Around 0.03 is where we want it. And we're going to click the green check mark. So now the only thing left is to add fillets to all of our sharp corners. So to do this, we're going to use the fillet tool. We don't have to enter any sketches or any features. All we have to do is click this button right here. And to start off with the fillet, we're going to select a value of 0.03 inches. And what that's going to be is the radius of the fillet that we're putting on all of these sharp corners. You're then going to select the entities that you wish to fill it. So if we zoom in on here, I'm going to select this corner, this corner, this corner, all of these. And then once we've selected all of these corners, we're going to move up to the gate. We're going to select these corners as well. If you accidentally select an edge that you don't want to fill it, just simply click on it again, and it should go away. So now that we have all of the corners selected, all we have to do is simply press the check mark, and we should be good to go. So at this point, we've created all the features that we wanted for this carabiner. We've added these cutouts right here to allow the material to flex more. We've added the cutout for the gate so that it can move freely back and forth and it's not connected to this top part of the carabiner. We've added some text on the side, and we've added some fillets to the sharp edges. The final thing that we'll do is learn how to export this part so that we can 3D print it. So to do that, you're going to move your mouse to where it says part right here and right click on it. You're then going to select export. Once this menu comes up, you can change the file name. So for this, I'm going to put my last name here so we know who made it. We're going to select format to be STL. We're going to select units of millimeters. And the reason we do this is 3D printers have something called slicing softwares, which takes a 3D file like this one and converts it to information that the 3D printer can read to print it properly. And by using units of millimeters, the model that we export will be easier to work with in the slicing software that our club uses. So then we're going to click OK. And we're going to see that this file downloads here. I'm going to go ahead and double click it. And you can see that we now have a 3D model that is ready to be sent for 3D printing. So I hope that this tutorial was helpful. Please feel free to reach out to the club or any of the officers for help with this or just any general information. We'd be happy to go into more depth with these CAD tutorials and hope that you were able to find this useful. And there is a survey that was sent out in an email recently. And by filling out that survey, there will be a place in that survey for you to upload the part file that I just showed you how to export and download. And you'll be able to select the color you want to print with, and we will get that printed off for you. So thanks for joining, and see you guys at the next meeting, hopefully. Have a good night.